Do you think we should take another look? And Kander's going to kind of like gesture back towards the ruins we've just kind of emerged from. I think it's worth taking another look in there, seeing if we missed anything, something that might shed some light on just what's going on here.
Uh, not sure. I think we searched everything, but I guess we could take another look.
Thinking about going back inside of the temple.
Yeah, just to take maybe another look. We kind of got a little bit I think I think we had like pretty much searched kind of what we had seen immediately, but then we got kind of interrupted by the slimes. Tanner's just wondering, did the dwarves pick this spot, you know, like with the ruins for any particular reason, aside from just that it seems like a defensible location, kind of remote. So he just wants to take another kind of look in here. So this seems like kind of this one open area. Um, no other like kind of exits or entrances, right? Aside from the that little passage that leads off to the caved in area.
Correct. Yep. So like this entry area comes in from the doors where you've got like the dwarves kind of flanking the door north and south there. The doors are off their hinges. Oh, you can't actually see where I have it called the foyer. But yeah, the doors are off their hinges, like just beyond those dwarves. And that's kind of like the transition between those two maps. I think the stairs overlay both of the maps. So that's like right outside of it was where you had seen like quote unquote Nundro kind of camping. You kind of enter into this little bit of a hallway, and to the north, there's a section where there's rubble, and that walks into a kind of like offset room that is filled with rubble. And just beyond, kind of has another like relatively hidden hall that is completely collapsed. And then inside of kind of this open air, or not open air, but like this open area with the colonnade kind of setting aside this as like kind of the temple entrance. This area seems to just be almost like a cube shape. There's a little bit of the area that's kind of offset as kind of like a half a, not hexagram, hex is six. Octagon, yeah, half an octagon, and that kind of gives you like a little bit of like where the holy person might stand to look back. But that seems to be what this place is.
Yeah, so Kender, I think, is going to he wants to move and take a look at he's wondering, maybe there's some other way into that collapsed hall. So he wants to kind of check the walls up here. Um, one to see like how solid they are, if it might be able to be something they could break through, or maybe look for some sort of you know hidden passage or something like that. Maybe another
So
way.
looking for signs, you could do a perception. If you're kind of like feeling around with the stone, you could do a investigation.
Yeah, I think he'd be like putting his hands on it, maybe trying to look for any like seams or things like that. So I'll go ahead and do investigation.
Yeah, I'd say kind of feeling around, you can't really see any signs of any difference in the stonework. You can't really feel anything that tells you that there's any separate kind of like um, change in the stone or any cracks that you wouldn't expect. Most of this area, despite like the damage, really does show like the actual quality of dwarven work, where you see even in like incredibly damaged stone, most of them butt up together just with almost seamless cracks. Some of the more damaged stones, you can see the seam between two different stones, but it's only because like a large chunk is kind of broken away, that you now can kind of like tell the difference between the two.
Gotcha. So kind of after doing this, he'll turn back towards Flynn. No, nothing here. And I believe we had already kind of taken a look at it was like a little stone altar or something like that, right? I don't think we had found anything that really caught our interest when we took a look at that before.
My bad. Yeah, I had one of the oozes on top of it. There was the stone altar there as well. But yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think the altar itself is simply just blood stained. There's not really anything else to kind of pick up or notice about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Candor will kind of returning back to Flynn, and well, I guess I don't know. I'm out of ideas. So unless you've got anything else, suppose this was a waste of time.
Yeah, nothing I can think of. Looking around, I don't really, nothing seems to pop out. Um,
Yeah, it'll probably take us forever to try and clear any of that rubble. Probably not worth the yeah, not worth the effort. And I think with that, Candor will move to head back outside, um, back to like the makeshift camp. And I guess looking at that first note that we found, like in terms of like just trying to take a look at like the handwriting, like did it look like it was like scrawled in a hurry, or um, like he suspects that maybe this was left by the person we formerly thought was Nundro, but just kind of I don't know if you would know that 100%.
You could do an investigation there. Yeah, you might assume it's a little bit more hurried. It's certainly like a little bit less kind of formal. Um, I don't know why you would necessarily have handwriting expertise at all. Are you proficient in um making the false documents? I can't think what it's called.
Yeah, so he is proficient with the forger's kit. But he's
Yeah,
also
okay.
like the calligrapher supplies. He doesn't have that, but kind of I would think like handwriting is a pretty important part of forging. So
Yeah, so I'd say you can kind of pick up like a little bit more like erratic kind of strokes. This person isn't necessarily like a finished writer kind of thing. It's certainly not something that kind of comes normal to them. Whereas like with the other note, you can actually see like there's dwarven runes on it, where it's signed by Tharden. Most of the actual like penmanship is a little bit smoother. You can certainly see like two different qualities of writing between the two notes.
gotcha. Yeah, so Andrew will kind of share kind of his thoughts on that and with Flynn, and then I suppose we should head back. I mean, we've lost track of Gundren. Uh, uh, the real Nundro disappeared. Tharden's gone off searching the mines, which we no idea where they might be. Afraid I'm at a bit of a loss here.
Yeah, same. I guess we could head back to Phandalin, or yeah, if you want to continue
I
this.
mean, sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's either head back to Phandalin or we head back to our old lives, go our separate ways. I mean, I don't know. I I would like to see this through if there's any thread we could possibly find.
Well, we do know Tharden was here at some point. Imagine if he did go searching for the mines. Don't know how long ago this note was left, but we could see if we could try to pick up his trail. Perhaps he's headed farther into the mountains, or I suppose the other
Right.
another option would be to see if we can track down Harbin at that logging camp back out in the Neverwinter Wood. But since we're here, I don't know. Perhaps we see if we can find any sort of trail that Tharden might have left.
Yeah, I guess we could look for anything. Don't want to get caught up wandering the mountains without a lot of, because we did give Nundro or whoever that was some of our supplies.
True, true. We might have to see if we can forage for anything. But I would like to at least, perhaps if we don't find anything in a day or so, head back. Sure, we could get back to Leylon, pick up some at least a bit of food, maybe. Perhaps we before we head back towards Phandalin. But I've gone hungry before. One day won't kill us if we don't find anything.
Yeah, as far as rationing your food goes, if you eat every other day, you will never have any actual issue. So you guys have plenty of days worth of food to you still, and that's besides the idea that you can forage. There's not really any worry per se about running out of food here.
Yeah, I mean, Kander did give the last of his food to quote unquote Nundro. But again, it's not like he doesn't like plan to be out here searching for like days and days, but he does want to. Since we're out here, that seems to be kind of the nearest kind of string we could try to see if we can find like a trail for Tharden. And I guess just can he get any sense from the note like how old it is? Like, does it look like it's been exposed to the element? Like, is it like I don't know if it's rained recently, but any sort of sense of like how long ago this note might have been sitting, or how long it might have been sitting here?
So the note I just shared is the one that I just made that one for, like the Tharden to Gundren. Is that the one you're speaking about?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that one you can pick up um, days, if not about a week, which is, again, it's about a 10-day, is about a week.
Yeah, just so that any trail would be cold, but it's a long shot. But if you're up for it, Flynn.
Sure, I guess. Do we know if the mines are supposed to be near here? I mean, I suppose they might be if they chose this place as their camp.
Good point. I think they wouldn't want to be too far from them.
I think at this point you all did get information from Nundro that the pact was between the humans, the dwarves, and the gnomes. Phandalin was the human settlement for it, and Nomengard was the gnome settlement for it. I don't think you guys have figured out where Nomengard is at present, but you don't necessarily know where the dwarves lived as well.
Right. Yeah. Um, it's
But
almost like a train. We could
that's
find
kind of
food. Almost.
saying, at very least, Phandalin is potentially close to it, but it doesn't mean that you're any further or any closer where you're at.
Right. It's almost like if we could find one of the other places and almost try and almost like triangulate, like with the idea that it's probably, kind of, it would be, uh, would make sense for
E-
it to be kind of fairly close
Even
to.
so, though, even so, it's more the idea like these settlements were there. The mines are there, not necessarily because it's equidistant from any other ones.
Well, no, not equidistant, but would think like they're, if we know where a couple of the places are, at least kind of maybe narrows the search area a little bit.
Yeah, it might give you a higher probability, but the fact of the matter is Phandalin alone tells you that you're close to it. It's just a question of how far. But the fact of the matter is for quite some time, I think again Nundro kind of gave you guys the information. It's been multiple lives of humans since anyone has actually found these mines. They've been lost for a generation or so of dwarves, many generations of humans. Um, and then like the gnomes are kind of about a dwarven length of time. So generally, it's just outside of the generation of dwarves and gnomes who actually would have known where it was.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Candor's idea right now is to just see if we can get lucky and pick up Tharden's trail. Not so much to take it like individually, independently go and try and search for the mine. But yeah, if Flynn's up for that, then Candor will start to kind of head back the way we had come, back onto the trail.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can backtrack.
So when you all kind of head out of here, is Candor leading, and you guys are looking to start searching for tracks? How are you guys kind of progressing as you prepare to leave?
Yeah, I guess Candor will be. He can kind of take the lead in trying to see if he can spot any. Yeah, he'd be looking for dwarven tracks or any signs of like discarded items, anything, essentially trying to see if he can pick up any sort of signs of Tharden's trail, or I guess a dwarven trail.
Gotcha. So as you all kind of like are preparing and looking to move through the palisade and head back out into this valley, you are going to start to hear some kind of sounds of sort of ruckus and not necessarily merriment ahead. And by the time you kind of like look up from like you're staring down at the ground, you can see that there are two green-skinned figures standing in front of you, and behind them, towering about twice as tall, almost 8 or 10 feet tall, there is this large humanoid creature that just has like half a tree that's like a 15-foot long club that it's just kind of dragging beside it. Gonna need you guys to roll initiative.
We have our allies.
You guys could have your allies here if you want to place them. But there's now 3 orcs.
Did you want to use the allies?
I'm good.
All right, make a choice on this, because I already said it might not have come through, but I said you can have your allies, but there's an extra orc. So if you want to do no allies, I'm just doing 3 opponents here. If you do with the allies, we're going to add an extra orc, so it still is challenging.
Yeah, I'll leave it up to you, Flint. Or Nick.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just the 2 of us then, I guess. We should be. Hopefully, we'll be all right.
That's fucking annoying. I have to figure out how to turn that off. So yeah, as you guys kind of like head into this little valley, you kind of hear some action ahead, and by the time you're looking out, there's like a little bit of silence as they spot you as well, and you're going to see as the first of these figures, just starting to pick up into a run, is going to start charging towards you. And he can pretty much make it right to you there, Candor, and he's going to, as he charges forward, swing out with his axe. Should hit with a 22, and he's going to deal. It's one of those things I immediately regret everything. 5 slashing damage to you.
Got it.
And that's going to immediately go to Flynn. How would you like to react?
I'll move up and attack with my longsword.
Solid strike, solid hit there as you slash across him, kind of like rending through his flesh. He's got a massive wound across his chest as you like cut down across his shoulder blade and through his rib cage. Still standing, but he is severely wounded here. Any other movements? Anything else you'd like to do? Otherwise, it's going to go to Candor.
I'll strafe around him and I guess put myself here. So I'm the heavily armored one, so
Yeah, so Candor kind of like spinning a bit after kind of taking that axe, maybe like kind of biting through his armor into the shoulder, kind of spinning a bit, but as he's spinning, he's drawing out his rapier and kind of moving to retaliate against the orc, stabbing out at it.
Gotcha. Solid strike into that one. As you kind of like pierce through, you kind of like feel like the little bit of resistance as you get through its rib cage and down into some of its vital organs. This already heavily wounded figure is going to collapse with that strike.
Yep, and I think Candor is going to he will back up a bit, maybe about 10 feet behind Flynn, kind of still holding, with his rapier, and that will be all for him.
All right. So again, the smaller orc is going to kind of in a rage, charging forward, is going to rush into Flynn and strike out with a long sword. Solid hit with a 22. He's going to slash across you for 15 damage. And I think you reduce that by 3, so you'll take 12.
okay.
And then the larger creature that's kind of like standing almost twice the height of you all is going to kind of like just like lumbering forward, clearly not nearly as fast, nor is it actually like getting into a rage by seeing you all. It recognizes what it's supposed to do, that it's supposed to smash you, but you can kind of see as it's like swinging with this like massive tree as it walks, and it's just going to eventually lob it out towards you, and it's going to try to throw this tree. This is effectively a javelin into you, Candor. It is well beyond its distance. It's going to be at disadvantage. And it's just going to like plunk down into the dirt with this dead ring as this massive like tree stump just like sinks down right next to you. This is very much kind of like that Lord of the Rings moment where you're like watching this crazy huge missile just slowly coming towards you, and at the last minute you can just step to the side and no damage. And it's going to go back around to the top of the order with Flynn.
All right. Let's see. Uh, yeah. Why don't I try something new? I'll try an ensnaring strike. That's a bonus action, and then an attack roll. Uh, yeah. That's
Gotcha. Is the Ensnaring Strike like one of your other smites where you cast it as a concentration and
Yeah.
then you make an attack, and if
Yeah.
you hit, yeah. So roll a normal attack to see if you hit.
Yeah. The ensnaring strike's a bonus action I do before the regular attack
But I don't think it does anything until you actually hit.
until I
Yeah.
hit. Yeah.
So as you like cut down in a pretty similar way, like do you think you hold more often than not like a high guard, or do you think you hold like a low guard? Like do you think your sword hilt is lower than the blade or higher than the blade most of the time?
Um, Not sure. I'm not too familiar with sword fighting.
Gotcha. So I described the last one as a high guard, where you have the hilts kind of higher than your head and the sword blade kind of hung down. And as you slash across that creature, you kind of move past it and to the other side as this other one closes in and cuts into you. And then as you kind of go from this position, you have the low guard and you slash up this creature. And as your blade like starts to cut through its flesh, it almost leaves behind like these vines that are starting to like grow through and start to bind this creature down into the ground. And by the time like they all like tighten in the last like creaks of the metal, this thing is no longer breathing. It's just like a flayed corpse on the ground that almost seems to be like sutured into the earth itself. And if you would like to move, you're welcome to move. Otherwise, we're going to go to Candor.
Um, yeah, he's already thrown his tree, so he seems kind of slow. So I'll stay here and yeah, see if he lumbers slowly, and maybe I can get the first hit in if he can't
Gotcha.
first.
If you close into it, Candor benefits. Oh, what? Candor can get advantage if he wants it. Never mind.
Yes. So Candor, kind of seeing as Flynn cuts down the second orc, gonna move up. Kind of coming over here and can't quite. He doesn't think he can quite get to the thing immediately. He is going to kind of come up here, put a little distance, and take the dodge action.
Gotcha. So it's going to move up to you, and as it gets close, just like reaching down and picking up a massive rock, it is going to swing and try to smash your skull open with a rock here. When I throw its tree, I'm by no means going to have it not have a weapon. It's just going to pick something else up. But as it smashes into you, it just kind of like smashes into. Oh, it's disadvantaged anyways. But regardless, it just smashes into like the rocks above, and there's just like a cascade of all of these rocks as it shatters across the stone of this cliff face. And it will go back around to Flynn.
All right. I'll move in and attack with my longsword. Yeah.
Just kind of like sinking into its flesh. Like your sword doesn't even like cut through, but you just like almost like bounce off of like its blubber and skin. Its hide just seems too thick to cut through. If you wanted to move any more, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we'll go to Candor.
Yeah, so Candor kind of throwing up his free hand to maybe try and shield himself from a couple of the like kind of loose stones that might have been knocked loose by that strike at him, is going to stab out with his rapier at the giant. And then kind of like even as he's doing so, he's moving and kind of essentially kind of like call him like, "Come on, you big dum dum," but kind of moving, trying to move kind of around it, and that will be his turn.
Gotcha. Just to clarify, when you attack something, you can basically disengage from that creature for free, right?
Yes, that's the fancy footwork.
Gotcha. Yeah, so as you kind of like stab into it, it like grabs at you to kind of like grab for the sword. And by the time its hand is kind of like clenching down in that position, you've already like stepped through and like pulled the blade out of its flesh with a little bit of a ring as your blade kind of comes through. On this one, it's going to kind of like pulling a tree out of the ground. It's going to swing it out towards Flynn. Should hit with a 19.
Yep, that hit.
It is going to do 15 points of bludgeoning damage as it smashes across you.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
go
you'll
down.
take 12 again.
Yeah, I go down.
Gotcha. And then it's going to go set yourself to whisper. Send me a death saving throw. And then it will go to Candor.
Yeah, so Candor kind of he's kind of like he's taunting this thing, but even but then as he sees it turn and kind of essentially smash Flynn down, he kind of a smile will evaporate. He'll rush over, kind of pulling out his healer's kit as he does, and he is going to attempt to kind of bring Flynn back up.
Gotcha. You have the healer's feet, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you can set him up with some normal heals. I didn't actually look in my old notes if you guys did any healing with that, but I was gonna say I assume you kind of have a full heal option.
Oh, now that you mention, I think I did heal both Flynn and maybe. I feel like I might have healed Flynn during the slime fight, and I don't think we rested since then. So I can get him up with one, right? But I don't think I can do the full heal. I don't. Let me just double check my notes.
I don't have it in my notes. I'm usually pretty good about writing it in my notes. I'm gonna just say go ahead and do the normal heal. I don't
Yeah,
think 13 is any different than 1, but
yeah, I don't remember falling in the slime fight. I think it was the other guy.
Gotcha. Okay, maybe it was Sanguis that I healed then, and I think I might have healed myself too. But okay, yeah. So you can get back 13, Flynn.
Okay, thank you.
that does take your action. Do you have cunning actions at this point?
I do. So I think I'm going to disengage and kind of step back about 10 feet again. Maybe just trying to, essentially trying to call the like taunting the giant still, hoping to give Flynn enough time to get up. But that will be his turn. Yeah.
Gotcha. So it is going to try to smash down into Flynn with the tree just kind of reaching up high into the air. It will have advantage as he is prone. Ooh. Yeah, I think prone is advantage. So it should hit with a 24 there, and it's going to deal. This is going to be 14, so it's going to do. I think it'll leave you at 1 hit point, as you'll take 11 of that.
Yeah, that'll leave me with 2 hit points.
And then it's going to go to you there, Flynn. Anything that you were holding, you have dropped. So you need to pick up your weapon again. You need half your movement to stand back up, but you can then kind of return to attacking this creature.
Yeah, I'll pick up my weapon, I'll stand up, and I'm gonna attack it.
Smashing into it, cutting across it with your sword, you will deal another 7 as you just like open up. Like, it's a pretty large gaping wound on this creature's body. It doesn't even seem to be all that large.
Okay, I'm gonna
And
drop a smite on this.
gotcha. What do you have? Level 1 spell slots only right now?
Yeah, I still have 2 left. I have
So
3.
you can do 2d8, I believe.
Yep. 1 on both 8s, jeez. Luck is not on my side today.
And under slashing.
Yeah, that's the bare minimum damage I can do.
Yeah, that's pretty absurd. And it's gonna go ahead to Candor.
Yeah, so Kandar's going to kind of dance back in, take a stabbing out at the giant with his rapier. And could he have? Oh no, rapier's not light. Never mind. Yeah, so he's going to kind of dance back in, stab out, kind of probably just like almost like bounce off the kind of thick hide of the giant, probably, and then try to dance back out. Yep, and that'll be his turn.
This time it's gonna kind of close in on Candor. It should step away from Flynn. You can take a opportunity attack, and it's going to swing into you here, Candor. So, 19 damage to Candor. Where's that leave you? And it will take 14 from him cutting into it.
Yeah, that will take Candor down. He's unconscious.
Unconscious, but it does not insta-kill you?
Does not. It's not an insta kill. No.
So as it kind of steps away, you like cut up its spine and kind of expose a large amount of bone on its back. But in the meantime, it's able to bring its tree down and kind of clobbers Candor down into the ground. And it's going to return to Flynn.
All right, I'll move here, and looks like I've used up a lot of my lay on hands, so I mean, I'll do 1 hit point. That'll be enough to bring Candor to consciousness, and yeah, at this point, we're just trying to keep each other alive. And
1 hit point gets you back in the action economy, and the way like your turn order goes, he actually gets to attack regardless because he's before the large creature. So
yeah, that's an action. So, yeah, but that'll give him sneak attack since I'm close by. Hopefully, and that's my turn.
So Candor, you have as well fallen to the ground, prone, half your movement to stand, pick up your weapon on your way up. and you can go about your turn. What would you like to do?
Yeah, so Kander kind of kind of coming to, grabbing for his blade, standing up, essentially trying to like scramble a bit, and stabbing out at the giant as he does so. Oop, sorry, I forgot to take it back off whisper.
Gotcha. Solid hit though. Do another 15.
And then, yeah, I think again he is going to, essentially trying to like back away again. I think just trying to give himself a moment to breathe and kind of clear the ringing from his head. But that is his turn.
Do you have that much movement left? Because you used half of it to stand. Was that about
Oh,
20 that you moved?
nope. That's your, yep. That's, I forgot the 15. So he was here, stand up.
Maybe go to the left.
Yeah, that's, you
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
So as it's kind of like starting to really show like all of these wounds around it, you can start to see its flesh is really starting to get coated with blood, and it's starting to flail a little bit more wildly as it's trying to like bring this tree down upon you. This swing's going to go towards Flynn. Probably missing with a 14 there, as it's just
Yep.
kind of trying to like gap distance between it and yourselves at this point. If this thing was intelligent before, it's certainly acting less intelligent now, as it's really just like in death throes. And it's going to go to you there, Flynn.
All right, I'll try to take it down. Ooh.
So as you crit into this, you are 100% going to kill this creature. Can you describe how you cut it down?
Um. Yeah, I guess I stab into its belly and cut it open. I guess. Uh.
Gotcha. So just kind of like burying your sword into its gut with kind of like a cross draw as you like pull back on it, almost like switching your grip to like a backward pull across the hilt. You're able to just dismember it as its guts just start to pour out. Large intestines first starting to pull down on the stomach and pulling out its small intestines. This creature just slumps down into the ground like a fully gutted beast. And you guys have, at least for now, a moment of quiet and safety.
Good old fashioned disembowelment. Always good.
Yep. Well, I couldn't reach the head, so. Ooh,
Uh,
we both took quite the beating, though. Perhaps we should rest.
well, it's, want to make sure there's, might not be any more orcs around. So might want to, get moving, but I do want to kind of, coming back over towards I guess the giant first, maybe just seeing, did it have like a sack or anything that looks like it might hold anything useful? Um, just like a very quick kind of once over of the corpse.
You can do a perception check. Yeah, I think looking over this thing, you can see it doesn't really have too many signs of like culture about it. The way you kind of like have experienced its use of weaponry, big shit that's on hand. Searching across the other two, you guys could take away like a couple of silver, maybe like 5 or 6 silver, maybe about 10 or so copper. But realistically, these things weren't necessarily traveling with anything of value.
Gotcha. Yeah. So he would might, like, split the coins with Flynn. But he's going to suggest maybe we, just in case there were any more where these came from, maybe we, try and, get moving again and find some place to maybe lay low and grab a quick, a breather.
Yeah. I mean, mm, yeah. If this place, if you feel this place isn't safe enough, um, Yeah, I suppose we should move and find some place to camp out or at least take a short rest, if not a long run.
These like these cliffs, are these fairly sheer? Do we think they might be climbable if we were trying to essentially climb them and maybe kind of find some place we could hide for a bit and take a essentially try and get a quick rest?
They're not like the smoothest cliffs ever. They certainly have like a climbability to them, but there's an inherent danger regardless while climbing. Perhaps they're kind of um, best quality as far as the climb goes is that they do seem to have ledges to them where it wouldn't be a single sheer climb. It would be multiple climbs. But it's kind of up to you. You don't necessarily know where is more danger at a place like this where you can see what's coming in front of you, moving somewhere else on like the level of the plane, or going up high. There's probably danger everywhere. You're in the wilderness.
Yeah, and one fall might be enough. Still not feeling too great after that last hit. Perhaps we're just as good essentially trying to retreat back, making use of this camp, and at least that way we've not right out in the middle of the open. Perhaps you're right, Flynn.
Yeah, I mean, Nundro or whoever that was there for a while, so it's probably safe as any place. And who knows, maybe a gutted ogre will deter anyone else who comes by that might want to hurt us.
Yeah, so yeah, with that candor, we'll head back, start kind of again retracing the steps backwards. Maybe we try and like kind of conceal ourselves inside, maybe like in that just we're not immediately visible from the like from the entrance, maybe in that little kind of where the little hall started to lead towards the cave in, and just essentially try and take a quick kind of rest and hope that we're not disturbed again.
Gotcha. Head back inside of the temple and try to rest there.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking almost even in here.
So you all can sit down, taking, this is kind of one of those things. You're not necessarily like disarming yourselves. You're not necessarily relaxing. A lot more than anything, it's kind of taking time to like staunch wounds and more or less like get your heart back in line after having like a rush of adrenaline, and more or less just kind of gathering yourselves. Time is going to progress through. Hour passes by. You don't have any real issues with it. You guys can take a short rest here and expend some hit dice if you would like. All right, you guys should not have that many hit dice. I don't think you're that high a level.
Level 3, aren't we?
Okay, word.
We hit that.
Yep, level 3. So yeah, 3 hit dice a piece, but now down to 0. I don't know. That's the one thing D&D doesn't seem to, at least for me, doesn't seem to keep good track. So I always have to remember to write it down so I remember how many hit dice I'm missing.
Yeah, hit dice is one of the biggest things where D&D Beyond knows how to do stuff, but it does not know the rules of the game. So you guys are all set here. Pick up with a little bit more health behind yourselves as you've rested. I think we've got you probably like mid-afternoon or so at this point. Kind of one of the things where you might have a higher likelihood of making it to Leyland than you would making it to Phandalin, but you could potentially make it to either of those settlements today if you head out from here at this point.
So given kind of what we just faced and we kind of barely escaped with our lives, Candor is starting to think that maybe Flynn had the right idea, heading back to Phandalin, maybe kind of regrouping, deciding kind of take a little more time to kind of decide our next move. So maybe if we try to kind of hoof it and can make it back to town, maybe let Sildar, Arthen know kind of what happened kind of at the camp. Maybe I don't know. Maybe in the meantime, Gundren's had some way to get in contact, or maybe I don't know, something's happened, or we can kind of try to decide what our next move is. But Candor's definitely rethinking his idea of going traipsing off into the mountains.
So, when you two are ready to head out here, let me have you roll a survival as you try to make your way between the dig site and Phandalin.
Hey.
Bam, golden. So kind of passing through, you all might go through, oh man, what was it called? I can't think of what it is. You might see a windmill off in the distance, as you all are kind of closing in on Phandalin, kind of seeing the first signs of the actual town off on the hillside ahead of you, and kind of see this windmill off just like a few miles off in the distance to like the northwest of you. Making your way into Phandalin, you guys would probably get in just before like the full like onset of darkness. With a new moon here, it is basically going to be like pitch black darkness as night actually sets in. But you guys are basically able to kind of make it into the town itself before the sun fully sets and you lose those last vestiges of light. Heading into Phandalin, you would be coming in from kind of the southeastern or southwestern side of the town and kind of coming up through that little road there, passing by the miners' exchange. You see like a few coins kind of hanging outside like of this building, like its sign is basically just like a stack of coins and then like a stack of gems. You can see that that is the Phandalin Miners' Exchange. Pass by the Lion Shield Coster, Townmaster's Hall. The Coster is indeed quiet. There's no lights on in there. Some signs of activity in the Master's Hall, but otherwise coming into the town, it's mostly dark at this point in the evening. Stonehill Inn has Bard playing and a little bit of music there. You guys could head on inside and hear a little bit of some tunes and get kind of a nice hot meal from the Stonehills. You could grab some ales, get a night's rest, and take a look across the board again to see that it seems with the progression from Harbin Wester to Sildar, the board has kind of been changed to this point where there's now a couple of other jobs being listed here. Coming to check out and check on. There is a bounty for Gundren Rockseeker. There are information posted for taking provisions to the loggers' camp for Tibor Wester. You guys would recognize as the brother of Harbin Wester. And then you have a another kind of bounty for checking and finding out what is going on at Butterskull Ranch, where Big Al seems to have kind of gone. Not necessarily missing, but he's been attacked, kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think given the late hour and the stomach's probably rumbling at this point, so Candor would suggest maybe we just head straight for the Stonehill Inn, get some good food, maybe listen to some music, kind of try and get in a good night's rest. And then the next morning, maybe kind of or while we're eating and all that and drinking, kind of discuss what our next move might be.
Yep, sounds good. But yeah, if, let's see, Sildar's looking for information on Gundren. If he hasn't gotten anything yet, I suppose we could do one of the other two missions while we wait.
Well, if we were to take up this delivery for Barthen, would give us a good excuse to get into the logging camp, and we're planning on might catch some word or maybe even sight of Harbin while we're there. Be easier than sneaking in, probably.
Yep, we could do that one.
Of course, we did also get that little map from name escapes me, but that would-be thief we let go about some hidden treasure in Coneyberry. So we could also check in on this Big Al character.
Oh God, refresh my memory. What are you talking about?
So when we were traveling down for the first time to Phandalin, and we ended up camping with there was a group of travelers, and then a couple of them were trying to essentially rob the wagon in the night, and we fought them, killed a couple of them, and then one we tied up for the night, and then eventually
Okay, an
we let him go.
NPC, not
No
not
NPC,
like
yeah,
one of the players.
no, yeah. And he had said he essentially kind of drew out a map in the dirt of a false wall at a house in Coneyberry where he said he buried something. No idea if he was just making something up or actually telling the truth, but
Dear Lord, that was one of the first or something missions, right?
it was like the first or second session, I think. Yeah, I do have it in my notes in D&D Beyond. Treasure hidden behind a false wall in a house in Coneyberry. Yeah, but that also just kind of gives us a reason for taking up that one too. So even if that turns out to be nothing, it's a reason for us to head towards Coneyberry to kind of take on this mission, in addition to the obviously of the reward.
Session 2 on April 30th.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So Flynn, I'm gonna leave it up to Flynn. Candor's good with kind of essentially picking up either one of these. So
Um, yeah, I guess we could go to Coneyberry, take care of some orcs that are. Yeah, stop the orcs from hurting people. Yeah, that's probably what Flynn would want to do.
well, good part of me is hoping the orcs have long gone and we'll find Big Al hale and healthy. But yes, let's sounds good to me. Let's go and check in on him. And remind me again, we have to take the ears.
Oh, the orc scalp. Yeah, for extra.
Scalps, yep.
Yeah, Candor was too woozy and disoriented after fighting those giants to kind of think of it of the two orcs that we had killed back at the mining camp. So, but he's like, just got to remember, orc ears, orc ears. Like he's like as a mantra in his head. But yeah, he'll suggest we stop off at Barthen's in the morning, maybe give him an update on kind of what we found when we check the camp, and also pick up some more rations and kind of supplies for the journey. But otherwise, he's ready to go when you are, Flynn.
Yeah, I mean, we need to rest first at the.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was kind of like, yeah, I was assuming like the next day, like unless there was
Oh, yeah.
something that was going to happen in the end.
Yeah, unless you guys have any need for anything here, this is one of those things, kind of like your choice, whatever you set your living costs at, to kind of like dock that for what you spend at the Stonehill Inn. Otherwise, the room itself is like 4 silver. Um, you know, your living cost determines a lot of what you spend on food, like how much you eat, how much you drink, kind of thing. But you too can take a long rest when you wake up that next morning. Kind of same idea. If you grab a bite to eat, just kind of based off your living cost, how much you spend there, just dock that away. And when you're ready, you can head off to wherever you would like to go. If Barthen's is really your only stop, you are welcome to do so. But yeah, just kind of depends what you guys are doing inside of town while you're here.
And can you remind me, is hit dice like everything else? It rounds down in terms of how many we get back in a long rest. So it would be 1, not 2.
I think most things round up in favor. So I'm pretty sure hit dice actually go up. So you guys would get 2 back here. But I'm not so concerned that I'm actually going to look it up here. It's been ages since I've actually read that, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Flynn, if you wanted to do anything else in town, just let me know. I'm good.
Yeah, maybe we should stop by Barthen's, pick up some more rations.
Yeah, like in general in town, you guys can go about, do whatever you might need to do. If you're trying to share and pass any information or trying to find out anything in particular, you can let me know. But overall, most of these people are just kind of going through general small talk with you. With this being a 2-hour campaign, like 2-hour sessions, I try not to do that because it's easy to waste the entire session just kind of talking versus actually like accomplishing things. I don't want to rob you of that either, but with 4 hours, that's part of the stuff that fits a lot smoother and more seamlessly. So if you're just looking to get supplies, Barthen's again is like Player's Handbook adventuring gear, nothing over 50 gold. So there's no healing potions to be bought there, but like generally you could get pretty much anything you would need from the Player's Handbook page for adventuring gear.
Yeah, and Candor's kind of thinking it over the night, like he's thinking, well, we don't really have all that much information, and maybe we shouldn't kind of worry Barthen for nothing. So he kind of wants to keep the notes that we had gotten close to the vest for a bit. So he would just be, yeah, kind of buying some additional supplies and then be ready to head out on the way towards Coneyberry when Flynn is.
Yeah, I'll just buy some rations to replenish what I gave away, and yeah, I'm ready.
So, as you all head back off on the road, you can head out of the north side of town and kind of start to walk down the winding path on the way to the Tribor Trail and off towards Coneyberry. Um, as you all head off in this direction, more or less kind of just walking kind of side and side. You guys going like in a row where you have one person who's leading? Are you guys just kind of casually walking? Are you trying to like walk off trail and take more time but be more secretive? You have any thoughts how you are traveling?
Um, I'm fine sticking to the trail, unless you want to be more secretive about it.
I mean, I think sorry. I think unless we see like actual evidence of like danger, yeah, Kander's fine. Just kind of using the trail, be quicker that way. Um, I don't think there'd be any sense in one of us leading the other. So I think we kind of, assuming the trail is kind of wide enough, maybe just walking kind of, side by side. I mean, Kendra would want to kind of, keep an eye out in case there are any signs of like orcs or, recent orc activity kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, taking the trail.
Roll perception. Is that it there, that 20?
Yes. Yep.
So on the trail, there's definitely not signs of there not being orcs. You're going to pick up that there are, again, there's orcs about this area. There's a reason that there are multiple bounties on orcs in these different towns. There's a reason why why Barthens is paying quite a lot to essentially escort a wagon full of goods. Currently, the Tribor Trail is not a terribly safe place to travel. While you guys are traveling at first, though, you don't feel any immediate threats at present, but there are certainly signs of dangerous things about. You all have been ambushed on this road. Gundren was ambushed on this road with Sildar, and you're just kind of walking further and further into the wilderness.
Yeah, Kander's just not sure if. I mean, we could travel off trail, but not sure that's going to make any real big difference in terms of safety. So, and if we have to flee, maybe the trail. So, I mean, unless Flint has any objections, Kander is good with sticking on the trail for now as we head towards Coneyberry.
Yep. I mean, not very sneaky, so might as well stick to the trail.
So you all will get about halfway um, through your day, around like highish sun, as you like cross over onto the Tribor Trail, and maybe get like about 4 or 5 miles to the east as you're kind of moving along the trail. You'll have more and more of the forest kind of picking up to the west of you, or to your left, to the north of you. And there's little signs of kind of an inclination in the actual trail, but mostly you're walking kind of in open plain on semi-flat ground. But about halfway through the day, you guys can like stop and, having like a cold lunch, take a bite to eat, and basically kind of split your day like that before kind of hopping back on the trail to once again start hoofing it about another like 10 or 15 miles before this day is kind of spent.
Yeah, I think yeah, Kander will be, maybe given all the, kind of signs of this activity as we, once we kind of, if we get like nearer to Coneyberry, maybe like within sight, he would suggest maybe we kind of slow down and maybe try and do a little bit of reconnaissance rather than strolling straight into the town. But until we get to that point, he's good kind of continuing as we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are gonna make it probably about a third of the way in this first day. You're gonna get roughly to where it says try for Tribord Trail.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So I think for the night's camp, Candor would suggest maybe that's when we kind of go off the trail and maybe try and find a little, like a copse of trees or something where we can kind of camp for the night. He would suggest a cold camp, given all the kind of signs of activity about, rather than so no fire unless it's needed for warmth. But we'll have to try and keep some sort of watch, I would imagine. So he would he'll offer to take the he would offer to take the first. Well, I guess we have to find a place to camp first. Sorry, getting ahead of myself.
So late in your day, as you guys are kind of getting close to and starting to think about where you would like to take a bit of rest, you find the trail kind of coming a little bit closer to the actual forest to your north, kind of have rising kind of hillocks opening up to the south of you. You two can roll and do a survival check to see if you can find a place to kind of make camp and start to set in for the night. As you kind of are like dealing with a certain level of exhaustion and kind of like finding yourselves a little bit more concerned with actually like getting off of your feet and less concerned about finding a good place to actually rest. You guys kind of like see like there's some lumber here that you can grab some stuff if you wanted to make a fire. There's some spots where there are fallen trees that you could make a easy kind of A-frame to kind of set a tarpaulin out to create a little bit of a shelter for yourselves. You've got water, it's a little far away, but maybe about 500 or 600 feet from this area. You've got pretty much what you need. And you guys just kind of like slop down to actually like start to rest your feet. And you're going to hear a large and out of the trees you're going to see a large skull of this creature that is a incredibly large I want to say pachyderm, but I'm pretty sure that's an elephant. I'm trying to think of the name for like the moose family, but you see this really large faced creature with these massive horns and antlers kind of sticking up out of its face, and you have a bull elk that's like right next to you, and as it kind of like is kind of stomping and huffing at you, you're going to see as two more of them are in this little clearing. You two have kind of like stumbled across 3 elk. I'd like for you to roll initiative. So, 2 of you are within about like 10 or 15 feet of these creatures. Both of you are effectively at this point like prone on the ground, sitting down. What would you like to do here, Candor?
Yeah, so Candor starting to think maybe we've stumbled into their territory, is going to try to get to his feet, kind of moving very deliberately, trying not to make any like sudden movements to spook these things. But he will go to kind of draw his rapier to defend himself if needed, but he is going to try and start essentially backing away. Um, Again, trying not look threatening, but not he'll just try to start backing away with his blade at the ready. He will, I think, he'll essentially ready an attack if one of these things comes charging at him, but otherwise just trying to move backwards and not instigate.
And then what would Flynn like to do as Candor starts to kind of back about 15 feet behind you at this point now? So you're kind of right in between these 3 elk in front of you. Candor is about the same amount of distance behind you.
Flynn will cast a spell on himself. And um, he'll just say, "We mean you no harm. Uh, we didn't know this was your territory." I mean, assuming they're beasts. If they're any other type of creature, they won't be able to understand me.
Gotcha. Otherwise, holding your ground, standing up. Are you staying seated?
Yeah, I'll stand up and raise my arms, show them I'm unarmed. But yeah, basically just telling them we're sorry. We didn't mean to disturb you. We'll leave if you want us to. I think they can speak back to me. Um, comprehend and verbally communicate with beasts. So I don't know what.
Gotcha. Inside of combat, speaking is always on your turn. So you can go about trying, but you're not going to know until it comes time to actually find out what happens.
Yeah, but yeah, that's basically my turn. I cast the spell and then I just sort of raise my arms and stand up so I'm not prone and just say, "Yeah, we're sorry. We didn't mean to intrude on your territory. We mean you no harm." It's basically what I'm trying to get across to them with my spell, yeah, and my words, yeah.
So on the kind of first of these, kind of like center of the three, that seems to be like a little bit larger than the other twos. Not by much. You kind of have a little bit of a sense that these are like three bull elk. Like effectively, like these are three smaller non-alphas that have like kind of been like left out of um, like a pack, while like an alpha male basically has all of the females. Um, and you kind of have like this sense of really smart enough to speak kind of thing. I think maybe as a response, you're kind of getting something along the lines of like, I want to. It's hard to even say it has like a word, kind of like challenge. Um, but I feel like that's kind of what you're gonna get from this thing as a response. Is basically like kind of as it's like huffing and like stomping at you. It's just kind of like with your understanding, you're just hearing challenge, challenge. Um, but they seem at present to hold there. So Candor, as they kind of like continue to like stomp at you too, Flynn seems to kind of like almost like stand as he weaves a little bit of magic. You start to hear as he like almost is like huffing back towards these creatures. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so Candor, not really sure what's going on, but as they haven't charged, he is going to kind of keeping his blade drawn, but not like kind of maybe at his side. He's going to move back up next to Flynn and kind of just like whisper, like, you know, because I assume, like, I don't know, is Flynn like making essentially like kind of noises with this speak to animals, or actually speaking like in normal? I don't know how speak with animals work.
I'm gonna go ahead and say he is speaking in a bestial language. So this is more like he is grunting in a pretty similar way as these things are kind of huffing and puffing.
Gotcha. Yes. So yeah, so that's kind of what I had in my head. So yeah, he's not sure what's going on. So he's going to move back up beside Flynn and kind of just like whisper, like, what's going on? Because I don't think he's seen Flynn do this before.
No, this is new to Flynn as well. He like just got this at level 3, so
He will otherwise take the dodge action and essentially trying to like kind of keep himself prepared in case these things do suddenly charge at them.
Gotcha. And then Flynn, what are you going for?
Um, yeah, Flynn will pick up his blade and say to them, "You don't want to challenge us. You want to live." Um, and I guess I'm gonna try to intimidate them and meet their
Gotcha.
challenge with
You can roll an intimidation here.
basically, "This challenge might be more than you can handle." That's what I'm trying to communicate to them.
Any other movement from you, or is that otherwise it?
No, that's all. I'll just pick up my sword and let them know. Yeah, that's my turn.
So I think you kind of have like a same sort of understanding kind of coming from this creature, as it's still kind of repeating almost the same thought with each of its grunts. And again, like I feel like the word challenge is close to what I'm looking for. It still doesn't necessarily kind of fit the idea. It might have a little bit different of an understanding as this thing does like begin to back down, but it's also not taking its eyes off of you. And within a few moments, kind of like um, maybe goes out of sight, you can still hear sounds of these three creatures kind of like slowly backing away. Like little twigs and little bushes kind of like rustle as they move. But even so, like as they like walk into like 3 and 5 year old trees, like 5 and 6 inch wide trees, they move into them and snap them as if they were just made of like a toothpick. So these massive creatures are like crashing through these trees, even so, as they kind of like step away from you and kind of slink out of sight.
I don't know what you did, Flynn, but good job.
Yes, thanks, Shantea, blessing me with new powers as I get stronger, it seems.
But just in case those things decide to come back, perhaps we should find another place to camp. I don't know. I'm not ready to fall on my feet, but
Yeah, let's find another place to camp.
Let me have you both make a Constitution saving throw, please. So you can push on like another like 3 or 5 miles, kind of ahead, and feel like you've kind of gotten out of what is likely their like general area of where they might kind of have this like their territory. And in a similar way, take a few moments to try to gather yourselves. This time I want you to do survival with disadvantage to find a place to camp. So, pretty similar situation where you guys find spots where there's lumber to make shelter, there's dry lumber to make like fire if you want to, there's water nearby, but none of it is actually where you're camping. All of it is disparate from the other ones. So, it's not an ideal place, but it is that point where you feel that you're far enough away from where you saw these moose, and you're again just kind of back to this idea like an hour's march in, and you're just like, I need to get off my feet. So you guys can set down to camp here and start to decide how you want to go about this evening. If you guys prepare for watches, you basically have each of like you and your sidekicks taking 2 watches. and you got an 8-hour evening here. And you guys can like make that determination who goes first and when.
Yeah, Kendra will offer to take the first watch, and then Glint can take the second watch.
Yeah, and then I guess Flynn and Jaren can take third and fourth.
And Kendra he would light. Sorry, he would have the hooded lantern lit, but he would be keeping it hooded just so he has and he would let the others use it as well for their watches. But he essentially wants to kind of be ready to throw out more light if needed, but for now wants to keep it fairly kind of try and be as inconspicuous as possible. So he has it lit up but hooded.
Gotcha. How much oil does that burn an hour? What is it? It's like 1/4 of a quart.
I believe one flask is 6 hours.
Gotcha. Did you end up buying like more oil?
Yeah, when he bought rations when we stopped at Barthen's, he would have bought probably a couple more flasks. Because right now
as long as you've got that prepared.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll burn through, what is that, like 1 1/3 of a flask essentially.
Yeah, because like before he bought more, he had essentially 8 hours remaining. So he would have bought essentially 2 more flasks to kind of replenish. So this will use up what he had, and now he's got 2 full flasks after that. Yeah.
Gotcha. So let me have you do perception at disadvantage for Candor.
Yeah, he's like dozing off, his head's drooping, then like he's bringing his eyes back up again. But he's not keeping good eyes on things.
Yeah, so your first watch goes by uneventfully. Let me get another perception from you, disadvantage. And kind of just comes to a point where like you almost like hear something and like you kind of like wake yourself up like snoring before you recognize like I think it's a good time to get Glint in here, but you feel like yeah, everything's gone by without a problem. Everybody seems to still be breathing, so nobody was murdered while you were sleeping. But offhand, you don't yet know if like something's gone missing, if something did happen. But it's probably a good time to grab Glint.
Yep, Candor kind of seeing no one's dead. He's like, okay, he'll catch Glint and essentially leave him to take the second one.
So when you are all set with Glint, let me get perception disadvantage. What kind of character is Glint?
I believe I went with Cut Purse. No,
Gotcha.
He's a bard.
Okay, bard. What's his AC?
Hold on. What's the bard stat block called again? Entertainer, something like that?
That sounds right. I mean, at this point, you should have just as many of these things saved as I do.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it in my notes.
That was definitely a joke because I have all of them. You've got a lot, but you shouldn't have all of them. Lore Master, Troubadour Warrior. Those are the 2 names of them. So I think you probably have the Lore Master. Should be AC 13. So while he's kind of on watch, there's going to be a moment where, everything seems to be going perfectly fine. And out of the blue, he's going to feel as like he just almost feels like a little bit of like a tickle, almost as if like the hairs on his neck or like the hairs on his arm are kind of like being ruffled, and then like the sense of like eeriness kind of gets him as he recognizes like that tickle's not somewhere where like you have these tiny hairs. Something hairy is touching him, and this is going to be the moment that he recognizes that there is indeed a creature starting to kind of like grasp him with these long, hairy arms. And I'm going to need you to roll initiative with Glint.
And I think that should be straight because his primary skill is not dexterity, so don't think he would have any bonus to that.
Yeah, so you will go directly after this, as he basically like comes to recognize like, for what it's worth, like he's in the darkness. He can't see what is happening. He just kind of feels almost like hairy appendages kind of like reaching around him. And then just like a moment where something kind of like almost like strikes out towards his neck and just kind of catches on like a tuft of leather where it's like doubled or tripled up around his collar. And in the instant, you know what, actually, I should just record that we've got the exact same initiative and we'll actually start with this next week. As he kind of like turns around and opens up the lantern to see like hundreds and like many faceted like dark black eyes that as they start to like glint back all of this light, you see just like a sparkle of blues and purples in all of these facets of the eyes. There is a massive spider trying to eat Glint, and that's where we'll pick up next week.
Nice. Definitely I'm thinking of that scene in the I think it's The Hobbit, yeah.